Good evening, you're watching the news from the Sultan of Oman television. First, the headlines. His Majesty Sultan Haitham bin Tariq greets His Majesty the King of Sweden on his country's National Day. The Bulletin project is to start production of 5 million cubic meters of gas and around 20,000 barrels of crude oil daily. And the Ministry of Health starts inoculation of the second dose of COVID-19 vaccines from tomorrow. Those are the headlines, and now for the news in detail. His Majesty Sultan Haitham bin Tariq has sent a cable of greetings to His Majesty King Carl XVI Gustaf of Sweden on his country's National Day. With an investment cost exceeding $2,600,000,000 US, the Bulletin project is preparing to enter production phase in the third quarter of the current year. It is considered the second major project in the history of Petroleum Development Oman Company. It will produce 5 million cubic meters of gas and around 20,000 barrels of crude oil daily, including 250 tons of liquid sulfur. It includes establishment of station and digging of 33 wells for oil and gas production, in addition to a power plant for generating 33 megawatt of electricity. The Ministry of Health starts tomorrow the vaccination campaign of those eligible for the second dose of COVID-19 vaccines. The Ministry seeks to cover all the targeted categories within the age of 12 and above, which is considered 70% of the population. The campaign will be conducted according to the National Immunization Strategy against COVID-19. In this regard, vaccination centres will be opened in various governorates, in addition to formation of mobile teams to move to remote areas and villages. The Ministry of Higher Education, Research and Innovation will launch tomorrow the annual Innovation Competition Programme. The programme will last for 2 months under the theme The National Initiative to Plant 10 Million Trees, with the aim to encourage innovative ideas that could realise the initiative and contribute to the environment, education and economy, especially in the fields of biodiversity and DNA industry. The hike in Oman oil prices and the positive ranking of Oman's financial standing have improved the Muscat Stock Exchange. The indicators in the market progressed by 91 points and were improving for the past 3 months. The market in the last month closed at 3,852 points as it increased by 2.4%. The industrial sector performed well by advancing by 5.4%. Meanwhile, the financial sector secured an additional 157 points. Medallion Board of Directors announced new sets of incentives and facilities to support investment in Sur Industrial Estate. The facilities include exemption from rent for 2 years and lowering the rental costs the next 3 years, starting from year 2021 up to 2024, in addition to lowering all other fees by 50%. During its fourth meeting, the board agreed to implement a number of investments in Sur Industrial Estate, such as constructing comprehensive villages for labourers by the private sector, establishing a factory to manufacture and repair modern fishing boats, and building a centre and shops for ship repair, in addition to a dock and a canal with 8-metre depth to accommodate larger fishing ships. The novel coronavirus has killed more than 3.71 million people since the outbreak emerged in China in December 2019. At least 172.5 million cases of coronavirus have been registered. The World Health Organization estimates that the pandemic's overall toll could be 2 to 3 times higher than official records, due to the excess mortality that is directly and indirectly linked to COVID-19. Yesterday, 9,916 new deaths and 427,592 new cases were recorded worldwide. The United States is the worst affected country, with 597,001 deaths. After the US, the hardest hit countries are Brazil, with 470,842 deaths, India, 344,082, Mexico, 228,868, and Peru with 185,813 deaths. Latin America and the Caribbean overall had more than 1.17 million deaths, Europe 1.15 million, Asia 499,345, the Middle East 144,420, and Africa 131,785 deaths. Markets and shopping malls in New Delhi will be allowed to partially reopen from Monday in a further easing of the COVID-19 lockdown as infections fall in major Indian cities after weeks of restrictions. Delhi's metro will also resume services at 50% capacity. Offices can also reopen at half capacity, but the government urged people to still try to work from home. The easing comes after Delhi allowed construction sites and factories to reopen last week. The government of Maharashtra state, which includes India's economic powerhouse Mumbai, announced a 5-level plan to ease restrictions depending on infection rates and hospital bed occupancy. In Level 1 areas with infection rates below 5% and hospital bed occupancy below 25%, all shops, restaurants and malls will be allowed to reopen. But Level 5 districts with infection rates over 20% will remain under severe movement restrictions. Daily infections reported across India have dropped to around 120,000 from more than 400,000 in May. Deaths have also fallen, with 3,380 reported in the previous 24 hours. At least 344,082 people in the country have lost their lives to the coronavirus, which is now surging in parts of rural India. The UN humanitarian chief is warning that famine is imminent in Ethiopia's embattled Tigray region in the country's north, and there is a risk that hundreds of thousands of people or more will die. Mark Lowcock said the economy has been destroyed, along with businesses, crops and farms, and there are no banking or telecommunication services. He said they are hearing of starvation-related deaths already. Lowcock urged the international community to step up, including with money. Political tension between Ethiopia's president and Tigray leaders, who once dominated Ethiopia's government, exploded into war last November. No one knows how many thousands of civilians or combatants died. In the disastrous famine of 1984-85, about 2 million Africans died, about half in Ethiopia. The United Nations and the Ethiopian government have helped about 2 million people in recent months in northern Ethiopia, mainly in government-controlled areas. This is the Sultan of Oman television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. His Majesty Sultan Haitham bin Tariq greets His Majesty the King of Sweden on his country's National Day. Jebel Kuf project is to start production of 5 million cubic meters of gas and around 20,000 barrels of crude oil daily. And the Ministry of Health starts inoculation of the second dose of COVID-19 vaccines from tomorrow. From all of us here at the newsroom and the studio, it's good night and stay safe.